Hello, welcome, cigar aficionados, cigarians, connoisseurs, and of course, enthusiasts. This is Viva Enthusiast, and welcome to my channel. Now, my channel I came to bring because I want to share a love and passion for something that we all have in common: a simple leaf. A leaf that is grown in the field is then picked, hanged to cure, fermented, aged, and then rolled, packaged, sold right to our hands to smoke. These lovely things are what give us peace, happiness, joy in all moments of the day, of life, in any situation, whether it's you're sad and angry and you need to pick up, you are celebrating something new, or it's just another after a long hard day at work. There's always something there for you can pick up in such an amazing construction of a cigar. Now, why did I want to start my channel? Well, I've been smoking cigars now for about 8 years, and I came into cigar smoking, which we'll touch on after, just to see what cigars are about. For a long time before, I worked in quite a few established places, and I always saw gentlemen smoking their cigars, and that smell of a cigar is quite strong. However, I loved that burning, charred, woody smell, and that peppery spice that you would get from the scented aroma of cigars. I always just sort of loved that smell, and never actually went to cigarettes. Didn't ever interest me, but that smell of cigars was something that I really wanted to try myself to see if that aroma is something that I like, I enjoy, and I found my way into it nearly a decade ago now, just to basically get into cigars and smoke them. Started a channel because of course lockdown happened, COVID came, and what happened was I then got the time from, instead of working in office, to being at home, having more expendable time to enjoy my cigars. Whereas before I was actually a semi-professional athlete, so it's a little bit harder to be training full-time and competing, travelling all over UK, abroad, and trying to smoke cigars at the same time. It's quite hard to find that balance of having a smoking cigars and seriously training and competing. So during the lockdown, I actually wasn't competing or training at the time. I actually, at the moment, I'm on hold from sport. So during this time, I had the pleasure to be able to enjoy my cigars and take a bigger understanding of what goes into a cigar, how it smokes, develop my palate as well, because this was something that I hadn't really developed before. Before, I only ever really just got a couple notes and flavours, but I hadn't really necessarily developed and took a real great understanding of what is coming out of my cigar. I sort of just smoked for fun and enjoyment. The reason also why COVID lockdown was great for me, and especially like coming to make this channel, was because when I used to smoke before, I never really got to sit really down and smoke and enjoy my cigars without a rush. I used to smoke cigars quite late at night, obviously due to just work, different places I used to work in, and obviously like I said, when I used to train and stuff. So it was quite hard to really get a time during the day where I could actually sit down and relax myself and smoke a cigar. My only free time was really late at night. I'm quite a slow smoker. I wouldn't say necessarily I've improved myself in smoking quickly. I've just know how to smoke my cigars. I just prefer to smoke it slowly. I don't see the point of needing to rush. For me, it's about enjoyment. It's not a chore when I light up cigar, it's enjoyment. I want to enjoy my 60, 90, 120 minutes of smoking that pure, lovely Cuban or New World tobacco. And due to the lockdown, not having to go into office and all these types of things, it gave me the freedom to actually smoke whilst I was working. And not many people can say they can do that. So I cheekily had a time, of course, just turned the camera off. And I was able to enjoy my cigars. And I started building up my collection of cigars as well, which is something I didn't really got to do before. I only really got to do my cigars when I was travelling abroad for holidays and when I was competing abroad. I used to quite use it as a good way for me to get cigars when I was out there and come back and stock up. Whereas having now been in a small cigar community with some friends, I was able to see where I could actually get some cigars and stock up, have my own collection of cigars, which is what I did throughout 2020. So a year ago actually, I just started to start my collection because we were just coming into lockdown for a few months. So I just started getting into smoking cigars a bit more regularly, which I wasn't really doing beforehand. I wasn't really doing it regularly. I mean, if I could get one in once a month, it was quite nice. But because of the lockdown, I was able to get in a lot more cigars, smoke, and I was just enjoying that time. I wasn't really trying to make too many things. I actually smoked quite a lot of cigars beforehand, actually, with a lot. I didn't even really take too much notes of what they were or what regional edition or La Casa del Habano or Edition Limitadas. Didn't really pay attention too much. My previous, let's say 6 years, 6.5, 7 years before, I just smoked cigars because it looked good on the band. I looked at it, it looked nice, and maybe I saw a review or two, or people said to me, yeah, this is a good cigar, or recommending me, so I just went out and tried them. And so during this lockdown, I then got to study a bit more cigars, and having a community of friends that smoked cigars was a great help to me, because I'm the only one in my friendship group that smokes cigars. I'm sort of the old gentleman, you could say. Because I smoke cigars, I'm quite old school in a lot of things, so I don't really have that background or community in terms of like friendship group of people around there who could educate me a little bit more, or point me in the right direction, or just give some hints and tips of things in the cigar world. I just didn't have that. So having a small group of friends now really does help, because you learn things, you bounce things off each other, you do some trading, do some sales, etc. And it's great because you can compare opinions with other people. And this is the reason why I bring the channel. During the lockdown, like I said, because I had the time, I wanted to get involved more with the cigar community and cigars, and not just doing it for my enjoyment. I wanted to, as I was developing my palate, I wanted to share and give out my expression and opinions on what I get from a cigar. And after seeing many videos and reviews and people doing it, I was like, I was a bit reluctant to. I don't really have a problem necessarily being in front of the camera. It's more of, I don't really, limited in resource, in equipment, in facility. However, I was writing reviews. So I was just writing reviews for friends, and they were like, well, why don't you just do something with it? Like, which is what I already planned, but I kind of wanted to get that feedback first. So they told me to go over it, and one of my friends actually, who isn't a cigar smoker, he told me for the longest time to start up a blog. He was like, bro, why don't you start a blog? You're into cigars, it's sort of a niche area. Obviously now it's growing, the cigar business has been booming from 2020 due to the lockdown, 2019 and the 2019-20, it's been booming because people have got more time. The income is there necessarily, yes, with COVID and not COVID, the income is there because people haven't had to travel into work, so that travel money, that petrol money that you use, you now got that little expendable income that you can share out on maybe a box or a few cigars a month. And so I started to really think about it, and I was like, yeah, actually, it's good. I think I've got a good opinion. I don't necessarily come across too harsh. I'm quite fair. I'm quite strict in myself, actually, in my own performance in life and what I do, especially when I have a fight in boxing or when I was in track and field. I used to be very critical of myself, but I had a good analytical opinion of things. And this drove and led me to producing a channel. So the main meat of my channel is going to be via a blog, and on the blog, at this point of videoing, hopefully when this goes on live for you guys, the blog will be up and running, and that is www.vivaenthusiast.com. And this blog is mainly focusing on reviews. So writing reviews of cigars. There'll be solo cigars, but mainly I love to do head-to-heads. I like to see what this cigar is better than that cigar. And it could be head-to-head through a master, so that is a company. So let's just say it could be like within the Patragas line, and I maybe just want to do, well, I actually have, so I'll give that one to you. I did a D4 and a D5 comparison, as they were similar in Vitola. A lot of people had a little different opinions and reviews of themselves, of their own experiences with D5. They thought it was better than D4 and vice versa. So I did a head-to-head of that. And also going to have some head-to-heads I have of different brands, but the same Vitola. So they both had the same Vitola, and to different brands. And generally, we're going to keep it to Cuban versus Cuban and New World versus New World. Although, depending on what the Vitola is, we might switch it about and do a Cuban New World, Habanos New World head-to-head. It just depends. It gets a little bit tricky sometimes when you do things like that. I've seen quite many, and I've been very not impressed. I've seen people, no naming names, but I've seen people compare a short perfecto against a, I don't know, let's say a Lonsdale or a Gran Corona or something, or a Toro. They're not even in the same spectrum of Vitola. Burn time's going to be different. Everything is just not even in the same spectrum, but people out there are doing it and watching and following them. Up to you if you want to do that, guys. So the thing what you're going to get with me is I'm not going to bullshit anything about the cigar industry or the cigar. If this cigar is a poor cigar, I'm going to tell you it's a poor cigar because of X, Y, Z. Now, I always say in my reviews, in my opinion, at least, right? So remember that, in my opinion, at least, this XYZ cigar is a good or bad cigar. That's my opinion. Now, I put this into retrospect because everyone has a different flavor palette and taste profile. Some people will pick up some things differently, and we're going to touch on to that in the next episode. But from a general consensus of what I'm getting from this cigar, I'm going to give my opinion on it, and it's up to you whether you take that on board or you just say, nah, he's wrong. That's fairly up to you guys, fairly up to you. I'm leaving the ball in your court into making those executive decisions when it comes to cigars. And yeah, like I said, I'm going to be quite straight to the point, whether it's good or bad. I'm not too fussed necessarily on sort of, well, I am to the burn, to the point. I'm going to touch on as well Viva's 5-point scoring system, and we're going to touch on that as well on the next episode. We're going to separate these into 2 videos, and we're going to talk about that a lot more in depth. But before that, because this isn't going to be too much of a long video. It's more of an intro into the channel. Like I said, I want to talk about how I got into cigars. So we're talking, like I said, just under a decade now, and a friend of mine who was in Portugal was in a trip in Portugal, and a friend of mine actually was a decade ago, when I think about it. He was like, oh, we should try these little cigars. Now they were like cigarillos, and I actually have some, but I should have rang one out, but never mind now. And I was like, oh, like, what do you do? Like, I never even smoked a cigarette before or anything like that. Just never really, I think, came from a very strict West Indian household. Smoking and that was not accepted. So that wasn't in there. So he was like, no, you just puff, you know, and you, I was like, okay. So I tried it. Obviously, the cigarillo comes like, you know, about 3 inches, 3.5 inches, and we all shared it, and it was at this thing called fado. So the fado is a thing, it's a Portuguese thing where you're in like a restaurant and a local singer would sing their song whilst you're like sort of eating and stuff like that. So this lady came and she was doing her fado, and we all were smoking cigars. So I got that little taste from then, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Obviously back then, if you're a newcomer into the scene, it's very hard, unless you're around people, to know where you get cigars from. It's very, very hard. Now maybe it's a bit more easier, but back then it was very difficult to sort of know where you get cigars and so forth. And so my entry into cigars came about 8 years ago now, if I'm not wrong. And I was in a restaurant. So I was in a restaurant having a nice, lovely sort of late lunch, early dinner sort of thing. And I saw this sort of, kind of looked like a fridge at the time. So I was like, oh, what is that? Which obviously is a humidor. So I look, I'm like, oh, there's like these cigars or something in there. So I went over to the gentleman, and when we finished actually, about to walk out, and I said to him, oh, is that cigars you got in there? And he's like, yes. And I was like, oh, can I have a look? So he opens the humidor, have a look, and we discussed cigars. And I said to him, oh, I want something, he sort of laid a few cigars out. I was like, oh, what would you think, blah, blah, I recommend, blah, blah. And I said to him, oh, I want something quite strong. I went straight into the full end, right? If I'm not wrong, it was only Habanos cigars. So I said, I want something full end. And he was like, really sure? And I'm not too sure about that. And I said, yes, because that woody, cedary, oaky smell, that pepper spice, that aroma, I really like that charred, burning smell. I just like that burning smell. It's just, I don't know what it is, I just really like that smell. And I said, I think a fuller bodied or heavier strength cigar will be good for me because I like that aroma. I think it will, you know, I will like this. And he said, okay. So these cigars I recommend. So the first cigar I picked up, which consequently, even to this day, is still one of my favourite cigars, and is on the blog, one of the first reviews I've done, not from years ago. I smoked one earlier in the year, so on the blog, guys, you're going to have a good solid year output from 2021. I started writing reviews a little bit before 2021 and 2020, but I hadn't officialized my scoring system yet. I only really started it from 2021. I wanted to do it like that. And the first cigar I picked up was this, the Patragas Serie P number 2. And the reason why I picked this cigar, and you can read all my notes in the blog, but the reason I picked the cigar because I looked and I was like, oh, this is cool. It's a torpedo. Obviously it has this that cone torpedo shape, and you know, back then you only sort of saw like torpedoes and, you know, the big well now there's double coronas or prominentes, or the actually Lanceros, Laguito number 1. So you only saw those cigars, and they were obviously, you know, the big chairman, the CEO, the big bosses in the world. They always used to smoke the Torpedoes, the Lanceros, double Coronas, and I just loved the way this Tubos looked. This is actually still the same Tubos from back then. I kept it. It's like a souvenir. And what I loved about this was the colours. Black, my favourite colours ever. Red, my favourite colour. And gold, my favourite colour. These 3 colours, right, black, red and gold, are a combination of my 3 top max most loved colours. If anything's red, I'm interested. If it's black, I'm interested. I'm always in plain black most time. I mean, today navy suits me very well, so navy's another good favourite colour, but it doesn't quite come as close to these 3 colours. And like I said, didn't know much about cigars. The gentleman was telling me about cigars, but the Torpedo and the colour scheme of the Tubos was just grabbed me, just grabbed my attention. I was like, I'm having that. And he was like, this is one of the fuller bodies, the more heavier strength cigar. And I was like, yeah, I'll take this. And then he was like, well, I think you should try something milder. And person I was with at the time, they were like, yeah, why don't you try something milder? I think, you know, in case you don't like the full strength. And I was like, yeah, of course, I'll try something milder. So he recommended me this. See if the camera will pick that up. The Monte Cristo Petit Tubos. Now, if I'm not wrong, this is actually a number 4, the Petit Corona, Monte Cristo Petit Corona, Quattro, and it's a Petit Corona. It still smells so strong. Yeah, it actually smells so strong. Wow, still got the cedar inside, of course. I've only ever smoked, I think I smoked a couple of these actually, but this is the original. I always threw it, but this, like I said, I kept as a souvenir. And this was actually my first cigar I ever had. I didn't have the P2 as my first cigar. The first cigar I ever had was the Monte Cristo Petit Tubos. From back then, from what I can remember, that smell, it was quite strong, very tobacco, very earthy. Just get from this very earthy tobacco taste. And this was my first ever venture into Cuban cigars. And so he sold me these 2. He actually even then gave me a cut. I still have it to this day. This was my first ever cutter. Let's put that up to the camera. We'll focus. Not the best cutter, of course, but you know, just the way they sold. It was in a restaurant. You can't expect them. Like a guillotine, like that. 52 gauge, and this was you know, these 3 were my venture. There you go. These were my first adventure into, well, obviously Habanos, but into cigars. Obviously back then I didn't really know too much about New Worlds. Everything was just Cuban until obviously I'm a person I like to do some research on. But these were my first adventure, and I loved them. I just loved them. I loved the taste, loved the smell, and it just kind of went from there. When I was abroad, I go abroad. I used to go on holidays, etc., and then go racing, etc. And then works. I just then picked up those cigars, and then actually through the years, it's quite a shame now because I don't have. I had actually some of them. Actually, I don't get them out, but of the tubos of like different cigars I had. I had like petty coronations and all these other things in there, Balmorals from abroad. I used to have villagers. I had so many different. I had all the Habanos, you know, H. Upman Coronas Minor, petty coronations, Romeo Julieta number 2, Hoyo Epicure number 2. I had all of those. The main tubos. I had all of them. I had all of them. And that basically was my venture into cigars. And then obviously, like I said, it was a bit of an on and off period. I never really went off cigars. I just wasn't having the consistency of having them all like I used to. Because like I said, I was training and working, and I only used to get the time. It was really late at night, and I was sort of had to kind of rush the cigar, because it's like I'm smoking at 11 o'clock at night. You don't really want to be up until 1 a.m. smoking, especially when you've got work the next day. So it was a bit of a rush. Whereas this last 12 to 16 months, especially the last 12 months, I have absolutely loved the pleasure of having my cigars. And the only real time I ever really got that exposure was when I was abroad and I got to have my time. So yeah guys, that is my journey into Cuban cigars. Well, into cigars actually, not even just Cuban, into cigars. And like I said, I have a blog, vivaenthusiast.com, see on the YouTube channel, Viva Enthusiast. And I just hope you gravitate to what I've got to say in the channel, what I want to deliver, how I want to go about it, grow Viva Enthusiast, the brand, grow it out into the cigar community. You know, we need to share this out to other people, tell other people, you know, what I'm doing. You know, I need to compare maybe some notes of what I got of cigars and other things that we're going to talk about. And yeah, you know, welcome to the family. That's all I'm going to say. So again, I want to thank you, all cigar aficionados, cigarians, cigar connoisseurs, and of course enthusiasts, for coming to the channel. And I want you to like, share and subscribe to me, Viva Enthusiast. Take care.